We spend the first half of our lives accumulating. We are taught from a very young age to gather things. We gather knowledge in school. We gather skills in our first jobs. We gather possessions for our homes. And we try to gather as much money as we possibly can. There is a natural instinct to add more. More stocks, more real estate, more complexity, more opinions. But as you look toward the horizon, toward that time you might call retirement, or simply financial independence, the game changes. Success in the second half of the game isn't about what you add. It is often about what you subtract. I have often said that investing is simple, but it is not easy. The hardest part is often letting go of the habits and the assets that are dragging you down. You see, retirement is like a boat. You can have the strongest sails in the world, representing your income and your savings. But if you're dragging 5 heavy anchors behind you, you aren't going to go anywhere. You will just drift exhausted, despite all your hard work. Today, I want to talk to you not about what to buy. There are plenty of people shouting on television about what to buy. I want to talk to you about what to sell. There are 5 specific things, burdens, really, that you must get rid of before you can truly say you are free. If you can sell these 5 things, you don't just get money in return, you get peace. And at my age, I can tell you, peace is the only asset that truly compounds forever. Before we get to the specific items, we have to understand the mindset of selling. In the business world, people think selling is a sign of defeat. If I sell a stock, it means I gave up on it. Wrong. Selling is an act of clarity. It is an act of pruning a tree so the healthy branches can grow. In Omaha, I sit in a room that is quiet. There is no ticker tape running across the bottom of the wall. There is no one screaming at me to make a trade every 30 seconds. I spend most of my day just reading and thinking. And what I am usually doing is filtering. I have a box on my desk, metaphorically speaking, called the too hard pile. Most of the financial world is in the too hard pile. The derivatives, the high-frequency trading schemes, the companies that don't make a profit but promise to change the world in 10 years. It is all too hard. The secret to a happy retirement is to make your life's portfolio small, manageable, and understandable. When you are young, you can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to have a cluttered life because you have the energy to clean it up. But as you approach retirement, you do not have the time to recover from a catastrophic mistake. You need certainty. You need a fortress, and you cannot build a fortress if the foundation is cluttered with debris. So let's look at the first thing you need to sell immediately. It is the heaviest anchor of them all. The first thing you must sell, without hesitation, is your high-interest debt. I'm talking about credit card balances, high-interest personal loans, or any debt where the interest rate is higher than what you can reasonably expect to earn in the market. I have seen so many intelligent people with high IQs, ruin their financial lives because they could not do basic arithmetic. If you are paying 18% or 20% interest on a credit card and you are trying to invest in the stock market to make 8% or 10%, you are swimming upstream. You are effectively walking backward on an escalator. When you pay off a debt that charges you 18%, you are guaranteeing yourself a risk-free, tax-free return of 18%. You cannot find that return anywhere in the financial universe. It is better than gold, better than real estate, and certainly better than any stock tip. Retirement is about cash flow. It is about the money coming in versus the money going out. Debt is a leak in your boat. It doesn't matter how much water you pour in. If the hole is big enough, you will sink. Selling your debt means liquidating whatever mediocre investments you have, or using your savings to kill that liability. You cannot be a free person if you owe your future labor to a bank. Let me tell you, I have never been a big fan of leverage. Leverage borrowed money is the only way a smart person can go broke. If you don't use leverage, and you just buy good American businesses over time, it is very hard to lose. But if you borrow money to try to get rich faster, you introduce the possibility of getting wiped out. Imagine a farmer. He owns a decent plot of land. It produces good corn. He feeds his family, but he wants more. So he borrows heavily to buy the neighbor's land. Suddenly a drought hits. If he owned his land outright, he would just tighten his belt and wait for next year. But because he has debt, the bank doesn't care about the drought. The bank wants to be paid. Now, he loses everything, the new land and the old land. Retirement is the time to be the farmer who owns his land outright. You want to sleep well at night. I value a good night's sleep more than just about anything. If you have debt hanging over you, you are always one bad season away from trouble. So when I say sell your debt, I mean sell the idea that you need to use other people's money to maintain your lifestyle. Clear the ledger. A modest life with zero debt is infinitely more secure than a luxurious life fueled by monthly payments. The second thing you must sell is your ego. Specifically what I call the outer scorecard. This is perhaps the hardest thing to sell because it is tied to our human nature. The outer scorecard is how the world sees you. It is the brand of car you drive, the size of the house you live in, the clothes you wear, and the vacations you post pictures of. It is living your life to impress people who, frankly, probably don't care that much about you. If you are approaching retirement and you are still making financial decisions based on what the neighbors think, you are in a dangerous position. I live in the same house I bought in 1958. It is a nice house. It is comfortable, warm in the winter and cool in the summer. I have never felt the need to buy a palace just because I could afford one. When you retire, your income usually drops or becomes fixed. If your expenses are high because you are trying to maintain an image, you will run out of money. You must sell the need for external validation. You must shift to an inner scorecard. The inner scorecard asks, am I doing the right thing? Am I taking care of my family? Am I happy? If the answer is yes, it doesn't matter if you drive a 10-year-old car. There's a subtle enemy called lifestyle creep. As you earn more money throughout your career, you likely spent more. That is natural. But retirement requires a reset. I have known people who made millions of dollars a year and retired broke. I have also known people who never made more than a modest salary, yet they retired as millionaires. The difference was never the income. It was the ego. The modest earner didn't care about impressing the world. They cared about compounding their savings. When you sell your outer scorecard, you buy freedom. You realize you don't need the country club membership if you don't actually enjoy golf. You don't need the new car every 3 years. Suddenly, your monthly expenses drop by 30% or 40%. And when your expenses drop, the amount of money you need to retire drops too. It is a mathematical fact. Selling your ego is the fastest way to increase your wealth. It costs nothing to do, but it pays dividends every single day. Look at your budget. Circle the things that are there only for appearance. Sell them. Get rid of them. The third thing you must sell is your speculation. I distinguish clearly between investing and speculation. Investing is when you buy a piece of a business because you believe that business will generate profits over time. Speculation is when you buy something just because you think you can sell it to someone else for a higher price next week. As you approach retirement, you must purge your portfolio of lottery tickets, cryptocurrencies, penny stocks, options trading, or that hot tip your brother-in-law gave you about a mining company in a country you can't find on a map. These belong in the too hard pile. When you are 20, you can gamble with a small amount of money. If you lose it, you have 40 years to earn it back. When you are 60, capital preservation is the name of the game. Rule number 1 of investing is never lose money. Rule number 2 is never forget rule number 1. Speculation violates rule number 1. It relies on luck. I do not like to rely on luck. I like to rely on the productivity of American business. I like companies that make ketchup or razors or insurance policies, things people need. Sell the flashy, exciting, confusing assets. Replace them with boring, productive, cash-flowing assets. Boring is good. Boring makes you rich. I often tell students to imagine that when they start investing, they're given a punch card with only 20 slots in it. Every time they make an investment decision, they punch a hole. And after they make 20 investments, the card is full. And they can never make another investment for the rest of their lives. If you operated under those rules, you would really think about what you were doing, wouldn't you? You wouldn't throw a punch on a speculative tech stock just because it went up yesterday. You would do your homework. You would wait for the fat pitch. Before you retire, look at your portfolio as if you only have a few punches left on your card. If you are holding assets that you don't understand, assets that don't produce cash, or assets that keep you awake at night worrying, sell them. You don't need to be a genius to do well in the market. You just need to avoid being foolish. And speculation is the primary source of foolishness in the financial world. Clean house. If you can't write down on a piece of paper exactly how an asset makes money, you shouldn't own it. This leads directly to the fourth thing. Sell your complexity. Financial complexity is an industry designed to transfer money from your pocket to the pockets of brokers, consultants, and managers. There are thousands of investment products out there. Hedge funds, private equity wrappers, complex annuities with 100-page contracts. They're sold with fancy brochures and the promise of beating the market, but often the fees they charge eat up all the advantage they promise. I made a bet a few years ago. I bet that a simple S&P 500 index fund, a fund that just buys the 500 biggest companies in America and charges almost zero fees, would outperform a group of high-priced hedge funds over 10 years. And you know what the index fund won? The tortoise beat the hare. Complexity is fragile. Simplicity is robust. For your retirement, you want a machine with as few moving parts as possible. If you have 15 different brokerage accounts, 401ks from old jobs, and investments scattered all over the place, consolidate them, simplify. Sell the complex products that charge 1% or 2% a year. Move that money into low-cost index funds. Over a 20-year retirement. That 2% difference in fees can mean the difference between running out of money and leaving a legacy for your grandchildren. The final thing you must sell, and perhaps the most important for your mental health, is your fear. Specifically, the fear of short-term market volatility. If you are going to be an investor, you must accept that markets go down. They will go down. Sometimes they will go down 50%. This is the price of admission. If you cannot handle the idea of your portfolio dropping in value on paper, you will panic and sell at the bottom. And that is a tragedy. You must sell the mindset that says, the market is crashing, I must get out. You must replace it with the mindset of a business owner. If you owned a wonderful local farm, and one year the prices of corn dropped, would you rush to sell the farm for half its value? No, you would look at the land and say, this is still good land. It will produce again. The stock market is just a collection of businesses. America has faced wars, depressions, pandemics, and political crises. And yet, over the long term, the value of American business has marched upward. Do not bet against America. Sell your fear of the headlines. Stop watching the financial news every day. It is designed to scare you because fear keeps you watching. But fear is a terrible financial advisor. I want to leave you with a story I share with high school students. Imagine a genie. A genie appeared to you when you were 16 years old. And the genie says, I will give you any car you want. A red convertible, a Rolls Royce, anything. It will be parked in your driveway tomorrow morning with a big bow on it. You would be ecstatic. But then the genie adds one condition. This is the only car you will ever get in your entire lifetime. It has to last you forever. Now, how would you treat that car? You would read the manual 5 times before you turned the key. You would change the oil twice as often as required. If it got a little scratch, you would fix it immediately. You would keep it garaged. You would protect it with your life because you know it has to last 50 or 60 years. Your mind and your body are that car. But your financial nest egg is the fuel for that car in your later years. You only get one retirement. You cannot go back and do it again. You have to treat your capital with that. Same level of care. By selling the things we discussed, debt, ego, speculation, complexity, and fear, you are performing the ultimate maintenance on your vehicle. You are ensuring that it will run smoothly for the rest of the journey. We have covered a lot of ground today. We talked about subtraction rather than addition. To recap, if you want a secure retirement, look at your life and start selling. Sell the high-interest debt that enslaves you. Sell the need to impress others with an outer scorecard. Sell the speculative gambles that risk your principal. Sell the complex investments that line the pockets of brokers. And sell the fear that makes you panic when the road gets bumpy. If you strip these things away, what you are left with is a core of solid, productive assets and a mind that is calm and rational. That is the definition of wealth. It isn't just a number, it is the ability to wake up in the morning with nothing to worry about. I hope these thoughts help you look at your portfolio and your life a little differently. Investing is a journey that lasts a lifetime, and it is better to travel light. If this helped you think more clearly about money, and if you enjoy this calm, long-term approach to wisdom, you may want to stay with the channel. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Time is the one thing we can't buy more of, so thank you for sharing yours.